Hi, my name's Lynette from cleverlysimple.com, and today we're going to be making homemade pizza. My family enjoys this recipe every single Friday night, and I think your family will enjoy it as well. Welcome to my farmhouse. What I love about this pizza recipe we're going to make is it's no rise, so you can make it right away from start to finish. It makes a super crispy crust, which I absolutely enjoy. And 3, I don't have to plan ahead because there's no risk rising. So I guess that's 1 and 3, but it's all the reason I love this recipe from my mother-in-law. So let's get started. What I have here is a ½ cup of warm water. This recipe will make 1 pizza. I typically quadruple it for our family, but to keep things simple, we're gonna make 1 pizza today. The water needs to be warm, so about between 100 and 110 degrees. And to that, I'm gonna add 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. Now I buy yeast in bulk, and then I put it in a container like this and keep it in my freezer. That's the word I was looking for. The reason I do that is because we make so much pizza, I like to have yeast on hand, and by keeping it in the freezer, it keeps it fresh, and I literally will keep 1 package for like over a year because I buy so much at once. Now while our yeast is bubbling up, and that's how I know my yeast is good, I'm going to measure 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Now every time you measure flour and you're going to be baking, like I mentioned before, you want to aerate it. You want to make sure you kind of spoon it into the cup measure and then just scrape off the excess with the fork. All right, there's my 1.5 cups. And then to this, I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just gonna kind of give that a slight stir just to kind of incorporate the salt. This is a super simple recipe, you guys. It's almost completely no fail. All right, to that, I'm going to add my yeast that's kind of been sitting. And I'm also gonna add at the same time 4 tablespoons of olive oil. And I'm gonna stir this so it forms a dough. I have tried lots of pizza recipes in the past, and then when my mother-in-law told me about this one, I was completely sold because we have pizza every Friday night, and sometimes I just do not wanna think ahead to making it so it will rise. It's just not necessary, and this recipe is so good. You will see how easy it is to make it. Now when I make 4, it will kind of rise as one is sitting there waiting to be baked, and that's totally fine as well, but you don't need it to rise at all. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna kind of knead it just a little bit with my hands just to really make sure everything is well incorporated. You can see right away that the dough is super soft, really easy to manage and work with, and the best part is that we're not even gonna roll out this dough to put it on our pizza dish. Super easy, you guys. All right, so I like using a dark pan. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some of my olive oil that I still have, and I have some more over here. You can spray your pan, but I really wanna make sure this does not stick, so I usually drizzle a little bit of olive oil, and then I'll just take my hand and I just smooth it all over. Okay. Now I'm gonna take my dough. Remember, this was for 1 pizza. And I literally just start flattening it and spreading it with my hands. One of the reasons I like a round pan is I'm literally just gonna flatten so it's nice and even and spread it with my hands. Now, if you prefer to roll this out, you totally can. I just, it's Friday night when I'm usually making this, and I'm usually just like spent from the week, you know what I mean? And so I will typically just use my hands because it just makes it easier and I don't have to worry about it again. But that's one of the reasons why I put a lot of olive oil on the pan, because I am pressing it into the pan to make sure that it is even. All right, that looks good. I'm gonna all right, now I'm gonna take a fork, wipe my hands off on my apron, that's what it's for. And I'm just gonna fork the entire dough. And this is just to kind of help and make sure there's no bubbles. And then I like to just take my fingers around the edges and just kind of make it look nice. You don't really have to do this, but I kind of like everything to look like, you know, like a real pizza you'd buy from somebody who makes pizzas. All right, we're gonna put this in a 450-degree oven for about 5 to 6 minutes before we add our toppings. This is the key to getting a really crispy bottom crust. Now, I will admit there are times that I have forgotten and I've just started piling my toppings on and it turned out fine, but I really like a crispy crust. And so since we're making this in the oven and we do have a pan below it, I like to put it in for 5 or 6 minutes. I like to take it out and then we'll add our toppings. All right, so it's just come out of the oven for about 5 or 6 minutes just to kind of crisp it up. And it's not really crispy yet, it's just gonna come unattached from the pan. That is what I love to see because right now it's much easier to make sure it's not sticking to the pan than when the toppings are on. Now, here is a great tip if you're serving a crowd. I have made 6 to 8 pizzas before and I will get to this stage. So that means 5 or 6 minutes in the oven. I'll let them cool and then I have my crust ready to go. And then when people arrive, we can just throw the toppings on and continue the baking time. Makes it so much easier when you can do that kind of prep work. All right, so to the pizza, we're gonna add our sauce. Now this is not sponsored in any way, but we love Dave Fratelli sauce in our home. I've made my own homemade sauce before. This is just better. I love the flavor and I honestly feel like your pizza is only as good as the sauce. So typically I will add Dave Fratelli sauce before I even attempt to make it. And let's be honest, it's just really easy to grab a can and it's pretty inexpensive. All right, now that my sauce is in there, I'm gonna add my cheese. I like to actually grate my cheese. I don't get fresh mozzarella. You totally could if you enjoy that. It's just easier to get shredded cheese, but I do like to buy the block cheese and then just shred it myself. I find it makes a creamier, cheesier topping because I don't know if they put something on the shredded cheese that keeps it from sticking together in the package, but I don't know. It's just so much better if you grate your own, and it's literally the same price. So each pizza takes about 2 cups of cheese. Again, this is all personal preference. And this one we're gonna make pepperoni because my kid's favorite is pepperoni. Now, once I get these toppings on, I'm gonna be sticking them back in the oven at 450 degrees. And I'm gonna bake for about 10 minutes or until it's lightly golden brown. I don't know if you see that fly flying around. Yes, awesome. Welcome to the farmhouse. This is my life. Real life, guys. So that's all it's gonna take to bake this up and then we'll be ready to serve it. All right, it is finished, completely done, and absolutely delicious. It's bubbly, it's crispy around the edges. It may not look perfect, but it's absolutely delicious. I hope your family enjoys pizza night as much as our family has. Thanks for visiting the farmhouse. Until next time.